Hi guys. Without useless rambling, I just wanted to apologize for the time this video took and that you had to wait for that long, but I have a lot of work lately and I really don't have time for anything. But don't worry, I will figure it out somehow so that I can manage everything. Also, as I told you last time, my channel is in a bad spot right now and I would really appreciate every help, like sharing the video or something like that. Also, this video contains a lot of important topics, so please don't be mad if I pictured something wrong. I tried my best. And remember, if you are struggling with anxieties, don't be scared to ask for help. Anyways, I hope you will enjoy this video. Please comment your favorite part if you'll have one, and if you're new on this channel or you're still not subscribing it, then I encourage you to do so. You can also like this video to help me get more recognizability, and this would really help me a lot. Thank you in advance and I love you all so much. Now let's get on with this video. Enjoy. Shinsou was in his and Denki's bedroom, staring at the ceiling as if there was something incredibly interesting on it. But the truth was that it was just a normal ceiling. White and boring, nothing special at all. But for Hitoshi, it was a way to calm himself down, as he was always overthinking everything. Just like he was doing it right now, not even realizing it. Denki left the house about 20 minutes ago, leaving his boyfriend with anxieties and fears. In his thoughts, Shinsou heard questions like, what if he will meet someone there, and they'll be better than me, and he's going to leave me? Or what if he'll realize that he can do so much better than me and he will break up with me because of my beat up mind? These thoughts wouldn't let him calm himself, so he decided to do something that'll free his mind a little. What are people doing to calm down? Or to stop overthinking? He got up from the bed and took his phone from the bedside cabinet. He tapped the search engine and started looking for ways to calm your anxieties. He chose the first site he found and started reading. Breath. He sat on a chair and straightened his back to be able to take deep breaths. Then he shook himself slightly and took a deep breath, holding it a bit and thus clearing his thoughts. Then slowly and calmly exhaled the collected air in his lungs, repeating himself in his mind that he was exhaling bad thoughts. Repeating this action slowly over and over, he picked up the phone again and, pausing for a moment his inhales and exhales, read the next point. Admit that you're anxious or angry. When he finished reading this sentence, he laughed slightly. Like I didn't admit it already. Stupid. If someone's already on this kind of site, doesn't that mean that they already admitted it? But yet, he scrolled down the site a little and read the next step. Challenge your thoughts. What? How the beep am I supposed to challenge my thoughts? That's stupid. I knew it from the start. Of course. He left his phone and went downstairs, only to meet the meal that he prepared for Denki. Of course it wasn't eaten because his boyfriend left without eating anything. He'll eat something like takoyaki for sure. RIP our bathroom. But right after he chuckled, he started thinking it through again. His thoughts went to the very dark place that was telling him that Denki might as well be cheating on him right now, instead of hanging out with his friends. It wasn't like Shinsou didn't trust Denki. He trusted him more than he trusted himself. Even though the blonde sometimes annoyed him, he always knew what to say. Shinsou was so grateful for him, especially because even though Denki didn't even know about Shinsou's anxieties, he was still able to calm them. It was like Denki is so perfect for him, and that's what was making all the situation even worse, since Shinsou felt incredibly guilty because of his problems. He felt not worthy of Denki and that he should do much more instead of being straight up himself. But even though he wanted it so much, he wanted to try. Strange to say, but Denki wasn't stupid. When Shinsou once in high school tried to act like a perfect boy from these old teenage movies, he was scolded by his boyfriend for pretending to be someone he's not. And then he felt honored. First because Denki noticed the change in his behavior, and second because he was upset for not having his usual boy next to him. At least that's what he thought back then. But many years passed from this experience and Hitoshi's anxieties only grew bigger since then. What caused him to now question if he was thinking about this situation correctly? By the time he was now thinking that maybe Denki noticed it because on his usual behavior, Shinsou is so bad that the difference between him and perfect boyfriend is so big, that he won't ever be close to be as good for Denki, as Denki is to him. These thoughts were literally eating him alive. There was no way anybody could save him. After all this fight was going on in his mind, the only person that could help him was he himself. Or at least he had to give somebody possibilities to help him if this was the other way. Unfortunately, he couldn't do it. He couldn't ask for it. And it wasn't about his pride or attitude. He just knew that only Denki would have taken on this responsibility, and Shinsou never wanted to give his beloved this kind of task, since it was really terrible and tough thing to face such strong anxieties. At least that's what he was telling himself. In fact, all he needed was a little selfishness just to ask for help and reassurance, but he couldn't let himself do that. He just wasn't able to ask for something like that, especially the person he loved the most. Denki wasn't that oblivious after all. He could tell that Shinsou had something going on in his head, but he didn't want to jump into conclusions, so he just assumed that it's something from his past, like bullying that he unfortunately experienced, or problems with his parents. Something like this. But he couldn't really tell what was that for sure. So he was just trying to do as much as he could, just so that Shinsou would feel safe but not like someone is trying to interrupt his private stuff. After all, even though they were together, everybody needs privacy. Denki just didn't exactly know how much of this self-called privacy Shinsou needed, so instead of trying to help him by asking, he was sure that doing it without really knowing what's this about was just okay. They both didn't know that a communication was the key, but how could they know? For both Shinsou and Kaminari, this relationship was the first serious one, so they both tried to reduce every single problem they had. Or more like, they tried to cover every problem they had, without the need to facing it. After all, neither of them wanted to face this scary and unknown place in everybody's heart. In fact, you never know if the topic you're taking on isn't something hurtful for the other person, right? Unfortunately, because of this fear, Denki and Shinsou almost never had these types of emotional talks. This relationship might have been looking perfect and all, but in real life, there was just a lot to unpack. But in fact, no one other than Denki and Hitoshi could do it. It was their wall to break, their needed conversation that they had to carry out, and their problems to solve. Beeping idiot, he said as he looked into the mirror. You're saying that you love him so much and yet, you cannot even fight over this beepy feeling of insecurity. Suddenly, he felt something wet on his cheek. He looked directly at himself when he spotted a tiny tear that ran down his face. Why am I? Nonsense. Why would I cry? I am the one who would make Denki cry if he find out, so don't overreact, you idiot. He smacked himself on the cheeks and went to the bathroom to splash his face with cold water. This was the only thing that was really making him less anxious. Water and the feeling of being under it. Was that about the fact that the water is so powerful that its power just wash his weaknesses? Or maybe the fact that it could drown him, or even worse, the fact that there was no oxygen? No, it wasn't any of that. It was about the actual silence and dark that he felt under the water. Of course, when he was home alone without Denki it was quiet. But this silence was disturbing. Shinsou loved the chaos that Denki was showing every time he was in the house, so he hated being here alone. But underwater it was something else. It was a complete emptiness. The dark that could have swallowed him with his problems, and take him away, just so that he wouldn't be a burden for Denki. But, wait, a burden? Was he a burden? That was the first time when Shinsou really thought about him being a problem, and not about his problems. Maybe that was what it was all about? He stopped the flowing water from the tap and looked again at the mirror in front of him. What if it's not about me having my problems, but about me being the problem myself? He said it out loud as he was looking at his face from which drops of water dripped. The fear in his eyes was very visible and his skin looked pale as he was on the edge of his mental strength. He shook his head in disbelief and went under the shower without at least taking off his clothes. I need to wash this off. Everything, he said before the water completely muffled his voice. About 10 minutes passed by. The water was still covering Shinsou's body and his clothes were completely soaked by this time. His mind went blank. He didn't even hear the voice that was calling for him from downstairs. Toshi, are you here? I can hear the water, he said, but got nothing in response. The lights were on, and he could tell that Shinsou was using the bathroom. But what concerned him was that his beloved wasn't responding. Babe, are you showering? He was now standing in front of the door of the bathroom, a little nervous. Shinsou still didn't respond as the water was still flowing from the shower. Okay, I am entering Hitoshi. He walked in. Luckily, the door wasn't closed. Hito, oh my god, Hitoshi. He rushed towards his boyfriend. When Shinsou woke up, it was dark and he felt a weak body that was lying on top of him. He was in his and Denki's bedroom. He had a wet hair and he was wearing only grey sweatpants. He didn't know how he ended up here, but the only thing that he really remembered was him walking towards the bathroom. Nothing else. Finally, after shaking off the strange feeling in his heart, he looked at the person that was lying, or more like being very much asleep, on top of him. He saw yellow messy hair that he loved so much. Denki was in the clothes that he wore when he left the house and then it hit him. What happened? All came back. He was completely out of his mind, but he still walked into the shower. After 4 minutes of standing there like a statue, he sat down on the floor, still under the shower, and under the feeling of hot water on his skin, he felt like his eyes were shutting down. He knew that if he'll fall asleep there, that could be a dead end for him, but when the feeling of being a complete problem for his boyfriend hit him and wrapped its hands around his heart, he just couldn't think rationally. He just closed his eyes, and the only thing he remembered after that was a scream and a few flashbacks of someone carrying him somewhere. Of course, now when his mind was all sober again, he understood that it was Denki who get him out of the shower. Oh god, you must have been terrified when you saw me, lying under the water with closed eyes and the clothes on. I am so sorry baby, I can't even imagine what would I do in this situation, and you kept your cool and helped me. I really beeped up, didn't I? He looked away from his boyfriend but still tried to wrap his hand around his waist when a soft hand stopped him. Yes Shinsou, you beeped up. You really messed up. Denki got up from Shinsou, still a bit dizzy as he just woke up, but not enough to keep himself lying on a nice cushion, also known as his boyfriend. You got me scared, you know. Why the hell did you even do that? What if I wouldn't forgot my wallet and I wouldn't come back? You'd just die in our bathroom? You weren't drunk. So what was that about, huh? You brainwashed yourself and didn't know what you're doing? Or maybe it was your way to have fun? Answer me Shinsou. Now. What was the meaning of making me scared that you're dead? Do you have any clue how it feels to see the person you love the most, lying under the water in soaked clothes and clearly unconscious? That was beeping scary. He was now fully awake. Tears were forming in his eyes which caused his vision to blur a little, but he was still yelling, little sobs finding their way out of Denki's mouth from time to time. You were high. Or maybe you want to tell me that it was some prank, or someone used a quirk on you. Give me a one beeping reason. Shinsou's eyes were wide open, his hands and bottom lip trembling a little bit as he tried to calm himself down. Don't be even bigger problem. Just make him stop yelling. He thought, his anxieties now really taking control over him. He wanted to say something, but he just couldn't say a word. He was unable to speak or even move an inch. He was just staring at Denki, tears almost leaving his eyes. So you won't tell me? Okay, be that way. Kaminari got up from the bed. If you'll be ready to talk, just come to me. Maybe I will listen to you. He left the room, and soon after a few minutes of hearing footsteps and noises outside the door, Denki walked into the room, fully dressed up. I'll be sleeping at my parents' house tonight. Don't wait for me. I will be back when I'll feel like it. Do you understand? But Denki. Shut up. You will pay for what you did to me. Denki left the room. And soon after that, he left the house as well. Shinsou could tell, when he heard a slamming door, that his boyfriend was mad. He knew that was because he was worried, but it didn't stop Hitoshi from crying. His fears became real. Denki left the house in anger because of Shinsou, and God knows what is he about to do. He only stayed in their bed the whole day, not doing anything. First hours he spent on just trying to call Denki or simply crying and regretting everything he have done. But after he felt like he doesn't even have tears to cry, he just went downstairs. When he did so, he realized that Denki left a small note on the counter. Shinsou was hoping that it was something like when is he coming back home, but unfortunately, he couldn't be more wrong. The note was saying, think through all the things you did and call me when your brain will be normal again. Also, I won't let you try to drown yourself again or something like that. So I am registering the time you're spending in places in our house in which you could have hurt yourself. Don't call today though, I need time. Shinsou was rereading the note over and over again. I need time? He needed time, and that was obvious. But it still hurt Shinsou as he was rethinking everything as well. What if Denki won't come back? And this is just an excuse to leave him for Ford. Toshi, are you crying? He heard this voice and his eyes immediately opened up. He was panting as if he just ran a mile. His hands were shaking, breath heavy and a cold sweat was running down his whole body. Small tears escaping his eyes as he met first with darkness, but then with a small light that coming from Denki's bedside table, and luckily, next to it was the love of his life as well. Denki had a worried look on his face. You finally woke up. The yellow-haired boy hugged his boyfriend. I found you, lying on the ground in the bathroom. I was so worried, baby. Why would you do that? Denki's voice was so soft, so comforting, so perfect and just the thing Shinsou needed right now. No. All the time. He wanted to hear this voice all the time, through all his life. But was that even possible? Shinsou didn't know what was happening. He almost felt like he has a deja vu. But first time he saw it, Denku was pissed, unable to talk to and almost ready to leave Shinsou. Was that all just a nightmare? What was a reality now? Or maybe he's just dreaming again? He started drifting away, but when Denki saw it he quickly put his warm palms on Shinsou's cheeks, bringing him back to life. Baby, are you alright? I'm sure I told you that I'm leaving for about half an hour, didn't I? And when I came back, you were all in different world already. Were you overthinking again? Why you know about? Do I know about your anxieties? Shinsou nodded in embarrassment, still not really aware of what was happening right now. I realized some time ago. At first I thought that you're just stressed out. But when I saw your face, that was looking at me from the window of our bedroom when I was leaving, everything started making sense. For example, why are you always making sure if I'm alright, but after that you're immediately asking if you're not entering my private space too much? That all was because you didn't want to be a burden. Am I right? Burden. This word, in Shinsou's opinion, was describing him perfectly. Even now, when Denki had rights to be mad at him for what he has done under the shower, the yellow-haired man was making sure his beloved is alright. I am sorry, Denki. I know I am hard to deal with and my problems are annoying, but please give me a chance. I will change. I swear. You'll change? Completely. Then I won't give you that second chance. Shinsou looked down, his gaze getting blurred as the tears poured into his eyes, until he felt a hand on his thigh. I won't give you second chance if you will change, because I don't want you to do so. Shinsou looked up to meet Denki's worried eyes. But I have so many things I have to figure in my head, that will be just another rushing for you to worry about. Baby, I want you to get over with these anxieties. Of course I do. But it doesn't mean you have to change. They are a part of you, and I think that you'll always have this little voice in your head that will be telling you some bad things. But I entered this relationship for you, to be with you, to love you and to always support you. No matter what. No matter how many problems we're gonna have to fight, we will do it together. And I will never ever again let you deal with it on your own. Do you understand? They were looking at each other, eyes full of love but also with fear. That wasn't the end of their problems. No. They were far away from it and there was a lot of things that they will have to face. But as Denki said, and will always be saying, as long as they don't have to face these problems alone, they will save each other, even in the darkest place on the planet, with the power of trust, friendship and love. And Shinsou knew that his stubborn boyfriend won't give up until he's going to sleep in a complete peace, without reasons to worry about things that won't ever be real. I do, Denki. I love you so much. I cannot express how lucky I am to have you, really. But you're the most important person in my life. And I will make sure to prove it to you every day. Well, that's good. Because I love you too, so much that sometimes it even hurts. But it's a good pain, enjoyable pain, as long as it's you. Denki closed the gap between them in a long, sweet kiss full of love. It wasn't their most passionate or longest kiss. It was regular, But exactly this kiss, and the place, their bedroom at night, these regular things were so calming and reassuring, that Shinsou couldn't ask for more. This was just what he wanted, and what he needed. When they parted, Shinsou looked much more relieved and calm, but then Denki raised one of his eyebrows and looked at him, a little mad. But you're not getting away with that shower situation, understood? I was really worried. He pouted. What made Shinsou chuckle? He snuggled into Denki's neck and lied down with him on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Yeah, I know. You always are. That's why I love you so much. They looked at each other one more time that night, before finally falling asleep, holding hands. The light of the moon was pointing at them, but neither of them minded, since they were both exhausted after these tears and confessions. That was the longest, hardest and at the same time, one of the best nights in their lives. And we made it to the end already. I hope you guys liked reading it as much as I like reading your adorable comments. As always, forgive me for the time you've been waiting for it, but I hope it was worth it. Anyways, again, please like, subscribe and comment. Thank you for all your support that you're giving me every day, and please check my description if you want. You can find their link to My Hero Academia merch and links to my socials. I love you all and see you next time. Bye.